forgot the line. What is it?
Wow.
If you can perceive
It's
it.
only our
Yeah,
motto, the thing that has brought us together,
I'm
and
gonna re-record
we
that
have
bit.
just lived our whole life in alignment to, and you can't rattle it off.
Because I wrote
That
where if you perceive it, and I didn't keep right. So,
if you can perceive it,
if
it
you,
is for you, my friend.
uh,
If you can perceive it, it is for
uh,
you.
it
The way I
is
understand
for
that,
you.
while you're taking some notes, Kenj, and doing your homework, far out, I wish you'd rock up to these prepared, is our experience in life is so subjective, right? And over the last, well, I keep saying 5 years, but it's been a bit longer than that now. For me, I think a lot of us we see this distant future one day, hopefully it's for me.
Yeah.
And that is different to every individual, for every individual. Like the way that you see the future and what you want to bring into your life, Kenji, and how you want to live life is very different to mine. And our
Mm.
both obviously have a lot of alignment, hence why we're working together and building Goldbrick Road together. However, there's a reason you're perceiving that for yourself. There's a reason that you see that for yourself as a potential future. And by getting crystal clear and spending more time on that and asking yourself the whys, like why is that for me? Why is that interesting to me? Why is that important to me? You unconsciously direct yourself towards it. And pressure builds and builds and builds. It can be extremely challenging, and to be very careful in this space to not lean heavily into escapism and drugs and social media and TV, because like the pressure is insane.
Wait, so I shouldn't do that.
Um, it depends. It depends what your Godbrick road is for yourself. And if all of that is in the future, then perhaps it's a shortcut to get
Yeah.
there. However, yeah, I love the line, if you can perceive it, it is for you. I don't know if I said those words in a row for the first time. I doubt it. It's definitely
I
not
think you
new
did.
wisdom, but
Mm-hmm.
there's a reason why you see that in your future, and it's
Mm.
because it's for you.
Mm. What are you perceiving right now, Carl? What's the evolution happening? I know there's lots going on in Goldbrick Road at the moment. What are you perceiving?
Yeah, just a lot more fun, a lot more inspired action, a lot more
Mm-hmm.
connection, more firm relationships. Something I'm really excited over the last year, Kenj, is just the relationships that we've built. We are
Mm.
meeting more and more just fascinating, interesting, ambitious, impact-driven people that I think about the world and the people in it sort of 3 years ago, and I would not have guessed just how many of those people actually exist. They're everywhere. They're in every neighborhood, every city, every country, and the momentum of just sort of following my calling and our calling and how that's led to just more and more of these people coming into our life. Like even with this podcast, we haven't even started the podcast yet, literally. We've started booking some guests, but just that in itself, that intention has created this
Mm.
sort of magnet already that just will continue to compound. And so, yeah, a lot
Yeah.
more fun, a lot more connection, a lot more time with people. That's what I love. We're spending a bit more time than we like in front of the laptop at the moment, Kenj, but it is a
Mm-hmm.
season. It is a
Mm-hmm.
season. And
Yeah.
one inspiring bloke that I met recently, his name's Luke. He owns the farm gym out in Nambour, Mapleton Way. And he has just built a fascinating community. He used to work on the Survivor set for 2 years, has a really great team that just deliver amazing programs for corporate business owners, or sorry, leadership teams,
Oh.
schools, just all sorts of different events, as well as their continued community through their personal training and just their gym there and all of these things. And he just got referred to me by another gent that we've met called Matt, who has built these offshore sales teams to help businesses really exponentially grow their already solid business model. Just as off a whim, he's like, "Oh, you get along with Luke," and then I meet Luke. We have this amazing chat. Hey, Luke, we need to record this. Yes, Carl. Yeah, like whether it was the podcast or not,
Yes, Carl.
we now
Yes, we do.
have we now have this avenue that we get to, I guess, more firmly build these connections while it being in the best interest of everyone involved, which we still had in other ways before, but yeah, another
Yeah.
very excited about.
But man, it's been a journey, hey? Like I went on a drive today with a friend. He's also building a business, getting all these things ready. But it's and my girlfriend's a doctor, you know this, Carl, and she's been talking to a lot of patients. But something in the air right now, it is getting at people, you know? It's like forcing us to face this stuff and like, what are you gonna really do? You know, is your why strong enough here? Like, why do you want to stay? And like you said with the joy, without it, what are we doing? Man, what are we doing? If it doesn't bring us alive, we're just chasing dollars and cents and all this sort of stuff. Like, it's great, you know we want that, but that's a byproduct of our joy, hopefully.
We're
So,
sacrificing the only thing we have now for something potentially maybe in the future.
oh,
It's like,
you
yeah,
know,
I'll
it's
have
a
joy
guy,
then.
yeah, it's like a guy I met in Japan, and he drank a lot, but he was just like, he was the one that said, drinking is borrowing happiness from tomorrow.
Mm,
Mm. For all those drinkers out there, I'm so sorry.
mm.
But it was a great quote.
I don't
And
need it
it's the
tomorrow,
same
do
thing.
I? Why can't I just have it
No.
now? You know, that's what we're talking
What's
about, right?
tomorrow?
Let's bring the joy into now. Who cares about future Carl? Fuck that guy, you know?
Tomorrow's not real, Carl. It's an illusion, man. It's not real. All this bullshit that's out there, you know? Like, it's real. It's all half truths, right? All truths are but half true. There's two sides to the coin. So, yeah, it's definitely a grind. But, yeah, like you said, what are we doing it for? What's the evolution at the moment? And right now, like, for me, we've been talking a lot. I've just been knuckling with these words at the moment. And we shared it yesterday. Kind of penny drop for me. So simple, like Facebook, but it was brand leadership. You know, brand leadership came out because I love brand and how that's sort of been represented. What is that? What is the story? What is the essence? What is at the heart of us? And I've really found that connection to brand. But you love leadership, Carl. Not only do you love it, you thrive in it. You know, you're such a great leader. You love leading leaders, and we both do our best to look in the mirror first, who is that person that we need to be to really lead other people? How do we need to take responsibility? Jocko Willing talks about it all the time with extreme ownership, which is one of our principles. But brand leadership, I was like, that was the missing link of connecting the two as a pathway to get people to really start to see what the fuck is brand outside of a logo. I know that's already out there right now, but why is that so important? And maybe you can talk into this a little bit better, Carl, because you said you were sort of doing it intrinsically of getting, pulling out the culture. What's the values
Yeah,
inside,
so
you
every
know?
successful unit, every successful team has a core set, whether they're defined or not, whether they know this or not. Defining it's a
Mm-hmm.
shortcut in a lot of ways, but has a set of core values and principles in which they operate on. Like even thieves, there's this code. There's this the code
Mm.
of the criminal that they you don't cross the line of, and if you do, you're what's the word?
You're
You're
copping it.
literally executed. Yeah, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
you're chucked out the criminal bus that everyone wants to be on. But so there's this core set of sort of principles and values that everyone maintains and holds each other to account for, and that's a really powerful tool as a leader of a team, and that's why it can be very powerful to define it because by having that defined, no longer are you trying to hold people accountable for a mistake or something that happened over here, and you seem flip floppy and what's one rule over for this person but a rule for another person, and to get like to what's underneath, if someone uh, creates a poor customer experience for a client, you can hold them to
Mm-hmm.
account based on that one experience, or you can hold them account to the standard in which has already been defined and set by the organization. If you're rocking up to training late on a footy team, you can keep getting angry at this bloke for fucking rocking up late. Or you can hold them to account. Like, if you want to be on this team, we get to training 5 minutes early or you're late. And it makes it less personal and more about the organization, the unit.
And that's that intangible, I love that we relish in it, but we know that we want to bring the intangible to the tangible because we know fundamentally, I know from my background, it's always just spirit is the intangible, though so tangible in so many, faculties of my life, but it's the unseen that binds all things. And like you said with that footy team, right? Like, what is that thing, the unseen that we are agreeing to? And if it hasn't become tangible, then it becomes this whole, hey, you are wrong, you are outside. Whereas if we can turn it into tangible, then now there's like, hey, man, like you said, there's a standard, but there's an essence. This team is trying to do something here.
Yeah, I really like that, Kenj. And what you've helped me realize is what that relationship is to brand. And so, step
Mm.
into my entrepreneurial career, and for my larger clients, these were some of the first things that we would work on. It's like, okay, well, what are the core values? What do these things represent? How do they flow into the day to day? How do we make them real? What is this business striving towards? What is the vision? Why does it exist? What is the purpose? And just like I saw the value. I saw how much value that created for a leader in an organization, and the solution or the way it became sustainable was through the leadership cadence. It was through the leader using it as an accountability tool or an onboarding tool, and but it was still very person led. And what you've helped me realize, Ken, which I love and makes so much sense as to why there's so much synergy between brand and leadership, is because if these things are defined and built without the relationship to brand, which is just the external representation of one's identity, and in an organization's case, the organization's identity, then it isn't sustainable. You're building something, you're building the internal framework without its relationship to the external. And as above, so below, by bridging the gap, brand positioning as who we want to
Mm.
be and who we are and why we exist, and then brand standards as what do we strive to achieve every day to facilitate the experience that we're promising our clients or our market. That was the missing link. It's such a beautiful relationship that is more sustainable because it's in relationship to the market, the relationship to the reason that organization exists. And brand leadership, I did a quick Google. There's a couple of books, and it's all contextualized in brand. I've got a really big feeling, Kenji, that brand leadership will become a really important part of the next evolution of leadership, the future of leadership. Brand leadership not contextualized in brand, but contextualized in leadership.
Leadership.
And the last thing that just is so obvious to me now was already obvious, but just in relationship to this is that I'm sure all of you can think about how many organizations are just so great, but they don't get the attention they deserve. The market just doesn't know. And then how many organizations get so much attention and have that demand cycle, but don't facilitate the experience that that demand promises. And so that through line is extremely valuable for both of those businesses.
Yeah, and I really love that you said that because I've been coming from that brand side of things, but when you said that it actually, innately because brand is there, but it actually coming into an evolution of leadership has just been like, because you know me, man, how much I like that leadership side of things as well, but how that correlation is occurring through brand leadership. And you said it a few times there, which I love, is relationship. Like what is the relationship? And that's been the huge thing that's been missing for me as what I've been seeing and how I observe my life is that people miss the connection, external, internal, that they don't see causation, correlation, like why that happened. It's always like, oh, the world is happening to me, I'm a victim, where it's like, no, if you could see correlation, you could see causation, you're like, oh shit, this is actually because I'm doing this, and I can see the representation of it. And brand is like this beautiful thing where it's like, now we have a tangible thing. These are, like you said, brand position, who we're going to be in this market, brand standards. What do we have to uphold to be that person in the market and facilitate like that?
Yeah, what's someone buying into? If that's not
Mm.
clear, then they're just buying into what's in it for them or the
Mm-hmm.
potential of what's in it for them. And getting really clear and being able to articulate what this thing is in relationship to the world gives you a tool to be very clear on, well, who's going to jump on this bus with us, but also the people that are looking
Mm.
to jump on the bus very clear on what they're jumping onto, and potentially for the right people, what they're actually up for, what part of the bigger picture they get to contribute to versus getting trying to get a job for salary or the perks or the flex remote working
Mm.
or the boss is cool or potentially one day I'll get this promotion, and then they're stuck in this motivation cycle or incentivization cycle of me. And like as everyone knows, that story is so powerful in brand, right? It's so powerful in your marketing, it's so powerful in how you attract attention, but my God, isn't that powerful in your organization, in how you bring people on and how they grow and evolve and contribute to the organization, and is so
Mm-hmm.
often missed in leadership.
Oh man, heaps, heaps. And I know it because we've talked so much, but at least for our audience, Carl, like that brand standard, who you are, who you need to be, who you want to be. What is that for you? Like, where are you at right now? Like, I know we've gone through so much evolutions at the moment, and you've become a father. We've been building this business. Like, who is that now for you? Like, what does that mean to be someone now as, an entrepreneur coach?
Yeah, yeah, that's a really good question. I think the first standard is just like trusting yourself, not your thoughts, not every thought, but like just how you feel. Like I've trusted my gut so much. Sorry, I've learned to trust my gut a lot in my life. And there's something to do with feeling that is just so real. It's so easy to just sort of map it into what's intangible. But when I go away from trusting my gut and start forcing what I feel like I've committed to or what I feel like needs to happen, and I use feel very
Mm.
intentionally because there's still a feeling that is associated with that forcing nature. However, it's not the feeling of inspiration or what's right for me or what the call is. What is the Goldbrick Road, Kenj?
The Godric Road is the path that represents that we are called to walk in this world, should we choose to accept the call.
The path that we are called to walk in this world, should we choose to accept the call.
Get your homework right, buddy.
Thanks, man. I had to look at my whiteboard. But that call you don't just accept once. You need
Mm.
to accept that every day,
Well,
every time you speak
yeah.
to someone, every time you rock up. It's always there as this thin. It's the breadcrumb trail, as the C.S. Lewis puts, right? Like
Yep.
it's this thing that we need to.
And it's in the tickle, it's in the hero's journey as well, right? The refusal of the call. My God, how many times has that happened where the hero is called upon, he refuses, then trials and tribulations occurs that he's thrown asunder into the waves of life until he realizes the only path forward is to accept the call. Begrudgingly, it doesn't actually matter. So much of these motivational things we see these days, it's like a picture of like a guy doing chin-ups to the exact same picture, and like dedication is whether you feel like it or you don't. You know, one way or another, you have to accept that call. So like, yeah, it's been a journey. Hey, it's been a bit journey, but this is what I love, and this is why Goldbrick Road for us is the representation of this journey for us. I know, Carl, we've sort of iterated on it so many times. Like, what are we trying to bring to this world? What are we trying to do? And really discussed that, to empower liberty through faith, focus, and fortitude. What are we trying to get close to? What are we trying to achieve in this life? And this is why Goldberg Road has just been such a powerful engine, and why, there's been conversations to let it go in the past for something else, like maybe it's just a smaller piece of a grand thing. And I was
Those
like, maybe
butterflies, they look so sexy. They look so
they look so
intriguing.
sexy. But then you're like, is it? Is it? And good to great, as you said. Oh, sorry, it wasn't good to great. It was built to last. You mentioned that actually the quote better about the businesses that didn't start off with the
Oh,
first great
yeah,
idea.
really quickly. So, Jim C. Collins has written two great books, Good to Great and Built to Last, along with his team, and they're both based on a ton of research. In Built to Last, they research 20 of they what they call the visionary companies, the companies that have been successful over the last 100 years. Disney's one of them. And then they compare them to 20 comparison companies that are still extremely successful but aren't quite the like don't have quite the prestige or the legacy that the visionary companies do. So Columbia Pictures is one of them, and the great sort of through line there is like name something that Disney's created, name something that Columbia Pictures has created, right? So just a very clear dictation between the two, both very successful companies, but the difference between them. And at the start of the book, they shatter some myths. And one of the myths is that every great organization started with the right idea or right product. And
Hmm.
18 out of the 20 visionary companies didn't. 18 out of
Thank
the
God.
20 visionary companies started with the wrong thing, started with the right people, the right ethos, the right thing that they're called to bring into the world, but not the right product and not the right service, not the right thing. Mm.
And I'm so glad for that because, we've been so adamant of what we want to create here. You know, we've been through, one partnership over here, maybe this is going to work. We come over here, maybe this is going to work. And like, because I know we weren't willing to let go of that thing that we want to do, and it has been to go through iterations and full circle. It has come to, Goldbrick Road being this brand, like, and being a beacon and being a message and being something that everyone can share, and because everyone has their Goldbrick Road. And just back to the metaphorical life is something that I love, because I love to see that every single day. And if that's a site, Caroline Miss, I mentioned that quote already, but Anatomy of Spirit, she calls it symbolic sight. Is what I see as that relationship, as above, so below, what it's trying to talk to. And for those who don't know, as above, so below has come from old Hermetic principles, Egypt, Greece, ancient Greece, from the
Italian.
alchemists of past. Yeah, the alchemists of past who saw that they were doing the alchemical transmutation of metals, right? And they're trying to purify to get to the purest essence of these substances. And as they watch it, they're like, oh, this is directly applicable to me. And this is like, for me, right, is what I want to try and bring to this world is, I can't save the world. I'm very aware of that. The Buddha came here, Christ was here, like they only did
They
what
couldn't
they
do it.
could. And, they've brought something
Nah,
here.
I'll buck
And
the trend, Kenj. Leave it to me.
yeah, but my God, if we could just help people to see the correlation, because I see so much suffering, man, when people just don't see, and they're so bummed about their point in life because they're like, oh, my life right now is not good. It's not good. And I know plenty of my friends that are on the path and they can see, it's like, can you not see it's nowhere else but here? Like, this is your journey. This is your Goldbrick Road. If you so choose to accept the call. And how much do we refuse it, Carl? Oh, man. And so,
There was a
can't save everyone.
there's a really good podcast on the Diary of the CEO recently with Daniel Priestley and Gary.
Love that guy.
Yeah, Daniel Priestley's an absolute G. And Gary, what is his name?
Was that the one they had like a tit for tat? Like they
Yeah,
were kind
yeah,
of going
it
at
was.
it?
Yeah, it was called an emergency debate. It was with. Oh, he's
Yep.
not even in the bloody title. Come on, Stephen, get away from the
Oh,
clickbait.
Stephen.
I have to click on the video.
Stephen.
Stephen Bartlett, have a chat to your
Naughty
team. Stop
boy.
worrying about views. Gary Stevenson. So Gary
Yeah.
Stevenson was this trader, made millions of dollars just training and betting against the stock market, loans, and all these things.
Okay,
And
yeah.
uh, and so Daniel Priestley is the founder of like eight seven-figure companies. He's the founder of Dent Global, a beautiful program that I've invested some money in. He is very passionate about entrepreneurship and speaks very truly about the restraints on entrepreneurship actually correlate directly with the amount of wealth that can be produced by a nation. And Gary comes from the point of view that it's all fucked. The system's broken. It's disingenuous to tell people that they have a chance because they actually don't. They can't feed their kids. My kids will be okay, and yours kids will be okay, Daniel. But what was really frustrating about the debate, like I looked at all the YouTube comments, and there were so many people frustrating and empathetic, but so many people just like, yeah, Gary said it. Gary's right. Gary knows it. Daniel he's lost from the real world. He doesn't understand. He's too wealthy. And then you go to another platform like LinkedIn, and of course the audience is different, and a lot of people see Daniel's perspective and were sad that Gary's argument was very emotional and didn't offer a solution. And one line that Daniel mentioned, which was great, was Gary, if I grew up and I was 19 before I took a leap and tried to start anything, and I saw your content, that would have been disastrous for me. Like I would have jumped on that bandwagon, continued to be a victim, continued to not do anything about my
Mm,
own circumstances, because Gary's right. Gary's a fucking 100% right. But just like you said, the Buddha and Jesus couldn't save the world. And if that's your calling to do everything that you can to try, like I respect Gary Stevenson so much and what he's trying to do to bring attention to it, etc. But when Daniel asked him, so what can someone do to help? What can someone do to fix these problems that you're so passionate about? I don't know, like it sounded like satire. Gary's like, I encourage you to subscribe to my YouTube and my newsletter and get educated and follow me as we fight. And Ken, like again, I've so much empathy, and Gary is right. However, there's no solution. There's no outcome. It is 100% the world's fucked, and you can do nothing about it unless we break the whole thing. Where Dan comes from a very educated, very research-based perspective and understands that we all, at the very least, have the power to own our own shit in the simulation.
Yeah, and it's like Gary's right in some shape or form, right? All truths are but half
Right about
truths.
the
It's like,
system. He's right about, yeah, yeah, absolutely.
yeah, the system's all there, but, and, about the Buddha and Christ, right? They came, they did what they did, and yes, did they not save the world? But if we were going to say the Goldbrick Road, where if you can perceive it, it is for you, and if you choose to accept the call, because all the message and the teachings of the Buddha, what Christ brought here for us to read in scripture, if you choose to accept it, if you take the call, you can. There's the same message both sides. If you would, you can. Dude, how many people are successful right now that had far worse conditions than us and made it? And I think this is the thing for me, because I've heard that argument so many times. And I've heard that argument so many times from people that obviously live in Australia. And I am very aware. I have a mother and father who did well, just middle class well, but they had money. We could have money. I could do what I want, yada, yada. But I definitely noticed I had a certain level of complacency. My drive was not like Eminem drive. My drive was not like this, I'm gonna kill it. And
Kevin Hart
sometimes,
drive, you know.
yeah,
Mm.
and so it's just like you can't just say that. Well, no, you can't say. You can say whatever the hell you want. My apologies. Freedom of speech, baby. Say whatever you want. What I guess I want to say is that, like, for someone's will, and I think I got into a heated debate in this very exact topic a long time ago with this girl, that, like, because I was saying that you have a choice in life, and my acting teacher said, those who say no are rewarded with the safety they retain, and those who say yes are awarded with the experience they gain. Both are choices, and both are not wrong. It's okay to say no sometimes, because right now where you need to be is okay, right? But if you say yes, there's also opportunities. No is opportunities. But if you can just at least acknowledge, and this is for me where, brainwashing, if you go into the neuroscience of brainwashing and the history of brainwashing, etc., and the quote, or the adage that if you don't believe you're hypnotized or can be, you still are, right? That if you don't believe it at all, it's like, my God, because I know for sure, like when I had an awakening in 2011, 2012, 2013, revelation, and I saw the conditioning, my conditioning, societal conditioning, and I cried, I cried on so many different fronts, what it meant to be a human being on this planet, the choices I can make, but how limiting they were because of blah, 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 blah. And so if you're forever thinking that you don't have a choice, well, you won't. You never will. That's going to be your road. But if you want the gold brick road, faith, fortitude, and focus, those all require conviction. Those all require a decision. Those all require you to participate. But, there are greater things.
I'm going to sound like a broken record, but this is for me why we always start, whether it's in an organization, whether it's one-on-one, whether it's anything. It's like, well, what is the ideal? Because that helps you discern what's a yes or a no. The clearer you are on that, the easier it is to know when to say yes and no. But I do love that phrase, that there needs to be a season of saying yes to everything, every opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
Anthony, that we're going to get on the podcast soon, Anthony Metva, has had a very interesting career all around memory and how to build memory palaces and articulate these beautiful, or just exist, like hack life, because you can hack your own memory. When we caught up, he recited this poem that was like from 100 years ago and was very complex and long. I was like, holy shit. He didn't do that to impress me. It was just based on the conversation. It was very beautiful. He wrote an article recently where he shared a bit about the speed of implementation. And I talked about a book when we caught up, and he bought it straight away. And in that book had some references to a an old thought leader in memory that he's actually writing a book on now that would have been missed if he didn't just buy that book straight away. And he spoke about the 80/20 rule and implementation. And if you don't implement when it's there, when the call's there, when the inspiration is there, what are you losing? What is fading away into the abyss and the darkness? And
Mm-hmm.
we did this for the last sort of 9 months all of the time within Goldbrick Road Changes. We prioritized effort over reception, over following our inspiration, over what was there in the energy for us. And yeah, it's a lesson that I'm sure I'll learn 16 more times in the next year. But
Yeah, yeah, man. It's powerful. But what I like that you said there, and maybe we'll sort of finish it up because I can see us going to whole train of thought after that. But is what we say yes to, what we say no to. This is sort of what brand leadership is starting to really clearly identify for us and how we're going to work with organizations. And like you already have been, and we already have been, but much more
double
tangibly
down on,
because
yeah, yeah,
double down on what is it that you say yes to, what is it that you say no to. But now it's not just because we kind of got a feel. It's like, no, we got a very clear direction, and it's yes, there is what we want to do, but who do we want to be? And this is this sort of what do we enable, what do we facilitate sort of avenue, right? What is this principle we would love to share to this world, which is what has been, at least for me at the core, and I know Carl for you as well, but like what do we want to be as people on this planet, has been so important. I realize, who that person is so important. What will I do? Like you said about these great companies, I don't know. Maybe it's this, maybe it's that, maybe it's this. But there's this thing I'm not willing to let go of that's so important to us. And I'm super excited where brand leadership is going to take us, what that's going to look like, and how that's going to really evolve, as you say, as the new frontier of thought leadership.
yeah. Like you said, as it's something that we're already doing, but now we get to do it more directly and more purposefully. And one more little shared experience based on the recent transition and evolution of our journey, Kenj, is that no longer are you going to try and force to have all of the answers and force to have the whole breadth of
Whoa.
expertise in our team, like we were trying to force,
Yeah, yeah.
we were doing a good job, we were delivering a lot of value, but we were just trying to force every answer that was needed by our clients into this one thing. Except
Mm,
now we get to really double down on that through line, double down on what we're great at, and then bring in the absolute killers that have already spent 30 years building
mm-hmm.
out that stuff and just deliver value and really lean into what we love doing. Both of us speaking, both of us performing. I know you're starting to love coaching. I just froth coaching and I'm finally out of my own way with regards to it. The brand and the feeling is something I deeply appreciate and love, but that you just get, and then that correlation just makes so much sense. So yeah, I'm super excited too, man. Just so much energy is just unfurling and it's wild just what one barrier being removed can do for
Mm.
inspiration to flow back.
Oh, mate, and as above, so below. The decentralized nature of things. I see everything in the physical world as just a representation of a deeper energy coming through. I'm watching Web3, blockchain, all this sort of stuff come out. It's like the nodes are starting to split, but the system won't work without each node. So like everyone's individual place is starting to get more and more important inside of the system. And even today we're driving because I was talking about the tiny home that I built, and we sort of discussed these days with homes, the guys will come in to do the walls. There's a guy that does the windows. There's a guy that does the stairs. Instead of one guy doing the walls and the windows and the stairs, everyone's starting to realize, oh, I can just dial in on windows, make a killing. I can dial in on stairs, make a killing. And this is why, like, yeah, brand, like, who are you? What are you? Who are you going to be in this market, in this world as a person? And you have value,
And how you're going to
probably.
articulate that to everyone that jumps on the train or the bus with you. How you're going to make sure that
Mm-hmm.
that flows more firmly into the world without it always having to be through you or on your own back. Mm.
Mm, amen. Amen to that. And so, with that, ladies and gentlemen, appreciate you listening. Like, as always, like and subscribe if you're enjoying this. Chuck a comment in there if you want to hear anything from us. But, like Carl mentioned, there will be some guests on the way. We are super excited. I shan't reveal all of them right now, but looking forward to our next conversations. Once again, enjoy your Goldbrook Road. Talk to you next time. Peace.